My wife, Clara, always said paper meant nothing. It's just words on a page, Tom, she'd tell me whenever I'd get worked up about contracts or documentation at my technical writing job. What matters is what people actually do. And funny how perspective changes everything. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning, back when I still believed my marriage was worth the paper it was printed on. Back when I thought Clara's late nights were actually spent at yoga class, and her sudden interest in expensive lingerie was for my benefit. The truth has a way of surfacing, like oil on water. You can't keep it down forever. It was a Tuesday evening in March when everything unraveled. Clara had gone to another one of her girls' nights with her sister-in-law Monica and their friend group. These had become increasingly frequent over the past 6 months, always at trendy downtown bars I couldn't afford on my technical writer's salary. "Don't wait up," Clara had said, applying lipstick in our hallway mirror. "Monica's going through a rough patch with Derek. She needs us." Monica, Clara's younger sister, married to a successful real estate developer named Derek Hoffman. Monica had always looked down on me, making little comments about our modest suburban home, my 10-year-old Honda Civic, my off-the-rack clothes. Clara never defended me. If anything, she seemed to agree with Monica's assessment that she'd married beneath her station. I was grading technical documentation when my phone buzzed with a text meant for Clara. She'd left her personal phone behind, taking only the iPhone her company provided. The message preview showed on the lock screen. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Grant's bringing champagne. Minus, Mem." Grant? I didn't know any Grant in their friend circle. Clara's phone was protected by a passcode. But I knew it was our wedding anniversary. She'd always been sentimental about dates, or so I thought. The phone unlocked immediately. What I found in her messages made my stomach drop through the floor. Months of conversations with Monica and their friends Tanya and Kelsey. Detailed discussions about Clara's affair with someone named Grant Nielsen. Not just the physical details, though those were explicit enough to make me nauseous, but their mockery of me, my appearance, my job, my performance in bed, my general existence. "Tom's so clueless," one message from Clara read. "He actually thanked me for taking care of myself when I started wearing nice underwear, as if I'd do it for him." Monica's response: "At least Grant appreciates quality. Derek says his real estate deals are making him serious money. You picked the wrong man, sis." Tanya had chimed in. "Just divorced Tom already. Grant's married too, but his wife's loaded. You could do worse than being his side piece until he figures out his situation." Kelsey's contribution was the cruelest. "Remember when Tom tried to plan that romantic dinner for your birthday, with the grocery store flowers and Olive Garden takeout? Grant would never." They'd been planning tonight's meetup for weeks. Not a girls' night at all, but a double date. Monica and Derek, Clara and Grant. At Meridian, the most expensive steakhouse downtown. I sat in our living room, surrounded by the life Clara and I had built together, reading message after message that reduced me to a punchline, an obstacle to be managed until Clara figured out her exit strategy. The worst part wasn't even the affair. It was the systematic humiliation, the way they'd turned our private moments into entertainment for their group chat. Clara had shared details about our financial struggles, my insecurities, even my recent bout with anxiety after getting passed over for a promotion. "Tom's been seeing a therapist," she'd written. "Says he feels unworthy of me. Finally something we can agree on." I took screenshots of everything, organized them by date and participant. My technical writing background had trained me to document thoroughly, and this was no different. Evidence, facts, a paper trail of betrayal. By the time Clara returned home at 2 a.m., reeking of expensive wine and another man's cologne, I was ready. "How was Monica?" I asked from the couch, not looking up from my laptop. "Fine. Tired. You know how she gets?" Clara kicked off her heels, the same black Louboutins she'd claimed were a gift from her mother. Now I knew better. "Did she work things out with Derek?" A pause. "What do you mean?" "Her rough patch. The reason for tonight's emergency girls' night." "Oh, yeah, they're talking through it." "I'm exhausted, Tom. Can we discuss this tomorrow?" I finally looked at her. Really looked. Her makeup was smudged but carefully reapplied. Her dress, new, expensive, definitely not from her usual discount stores, was wrinkled in specific places. Her hair had been finger-combed back into place, but I could see where hands had run through it. "Sure," I said. "Sweet dreams." She paused at the bottom of the stairs, something in my tone making her wary. "Is everything okay?" "Perfect. Just working on some documentation. You know how important paper trails are in my line of work." Clara studied my face for a moment, then shrugged and headed upstairs. Within minutes, I heard the shower running, washing away the evidence of her evening. I spent the rest of the night reading through her messages, mapping out the timeline of deception. The affair had started 4 months ago at one of Derek's real estate events. Grant Nielsen, 42, married, successful property developer, specializing in luxury condos. He drove a Porsche Macan, owned a downtown loft, and according to Clara's breathless descriptions, was everything I wasn't. The group chat revealed the whole sordid network. Monica had introduced them, encouraging the affair from the beginning. Derek knew and approved, seeing Grant as a valuable business connection. Tanya and Kelsey served as alibis and cheerleaders, helping Clara craft lies and cover stories. They'd all been laughing at me for months. But as I read through their messages, I noticed something interesting. For all their mockery of my attention to detail, my methodical nature, my boring job, they'd left a perfect digital paper trail. Dates, times, locations, even photos from their group outings. Clara posing with Grant at restaurants I couldn't afford. Her wedding ring conspicuously absent. They thought I was too stupid, too trusting, too weak to ever fight back. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The next morning, Clara left for work with a kiss on my cheek and a reminder that she had another late meeting that evening. Her company, a mid-sized marketing firm, had been landing bigger clients lately, requiring more evening presentations, or so she'd told me. I called in sick to my own job, something I rarely did, and spent the day conducting reconnaissance. My first stop was Meridian, the steakhouse where they'd had dinner. I spoke with the hostess, claiming I was trying to track down my wife's lost earring from the previous evening. The young woman was helpful, checking their reservation system. "Here it is," she said. "Party of 4 under Hoffman. They had the corner booth in our main dining room." Derek had made the reservation. Of course he had. He was the only one with enough legitimate money to afford a $400 dinner without raising questions at home. I thanked her and drove to Grant's office building, a gleaming glass tower in the business district. His company, Nielsen Development, occupied the 15th floor. I parked across the street and waited. At 11:30 a.m., Grant emerged from the parking garage in his silver Porsche. He was everything Clara's messages had described. Tall, athletic, wearing a suit that cost more than my monthly salary. He had the confident swagger of a man who'd never been told no, never had to check his bank balance before making a purchase. I followed him to a lunch meeting at the country club, maintaining careful distance. My Honda Civic was invisible among the luxury cars, just another service vehicle in the background. While Grant networked over golf and cocktails, I visited the public library and used their computers to research him. Property records, business filings, social media profiles. Grant Nielsen was successful, but not as wealthy as he appeared. His development company carried significant debt, and several recent projects had gone over budget. He was leveraged to the hilt, maintaining his lifestyle through careful financial engineering. His wife Julia came from old money. Her family owned a chain of furniture stores across the Midwest. She was Grant's financial backer, though the property records suggested she kept tight control over their assets. Grant's name wasn't on their house, their vacation property, or most of their investment accounts. Interesting. A man with expensive tastes and limited personal resources, married to a woman who controlled the purse strings. No wonder he was attracted to Clara's fantasy of leaving me for a better life. He probably saw her as a potential escape route from his own financial dependence. I spent the afternoon at a coffee shop near Clara's office, watching her building's parking garage. At 5:15 p.m., she emerged with her coworker Janet, both laughing about something. They walked 2 blocks to a wine bar called Vintage, where Clara ordered an expensive bottle of Pinot Grigio. I positioned myself at a table with a clear view of their booth and listened. "He's taking me to Chicago next weekend," Clara was saying. "Some real estate conference, but we'll have the evenings free. Grant knows all the best restaurants." Janet looked uncomfortable. "Clara, are you sure about this? I mean, Tom's a good guy, and Grant's married too. This seems like it could get messy." "Tom's a good guy," Clara repeated mockingly. "Janet, I'm 39 years old. I've spent the last 8 years of my life settling for good enough. Do you know what Tom got me for our anniversary last year? A gift card to Target. A gift card, Janet. Not even something he picked out himself. But Grant took me to that new jewelry store on 5th Street last week, just to browse," he said. "But he was watching what I looked at, taking mental notes. That's what a real man does. He pays attention. Janet sipped her wine nervously. What about Tom's feelings? You guys seemed happy. Happy? Clara laughed, a sound I'd once found musical, but now recognized as cruel. I was managing Janet, managing a husband who thinks Applebee's is fine dining and a vacation is camping in state parks. Grant showed me what I've been missing. I recorded the conversation on my phone, though I doubted it would be legally admissible anywhere. Still, documentation was important. Patterns of behavior, evidence of intent. Clara left the wine bar at 7 p.m. and drove to Grant's downtown loft. I followed at a distance, parking where I could observe the building entrance. She emerged 3 hours later, hair mussed, makeup gone, wearing the same satisfied expression I used to think was reserved for me. That night, she came home with another elaborate story about client presentations and team-building exercises. I nodded sympathetically, asked appropriate questions, played the role of the trusting husband, but inside, I was building a case. Over the next week, I established their patterns. Tuesday and Thursday evenings at Grant's loft. Saturday afternoons at various hotels around the city. Grant was careful not to use the same place twice. Sunday brunches with Monica and Derek, where they'd all laugh about their shared secret. I documented everything. Photos, timestamps, location data. I even managed to retrieve deleted messages from Clara's cloud backup. She'd never changed the password from our shared account. The picture that emerged was of a coordinated campaign to humiliate me. Monica had orchestrated the introduction. Derek had provided venues and alibis. Tanya and Kelsey had served as accomplices and enablers. They'd turned my marriage into their entertainment, my pain into their inside joke, but they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd underestimated me. Clara thought I was weak because I avoided confrontation. She mistook my preference for peace as inability to fight back. She saw my methodical nature as boring rather than strategic. She was about to learn the difference. I decided to attend Monica and Derek's anniversary party on Saturday evening. Clara had tried to discourage me, claiming it would be mostly Derek's business associates, and I'd be bored. But I insisted, playing the dutiful brother-in-law who wanted to support family. The party was at their sprawling suburban mansion, the kind of house Clara had always coveted, catered by the same company that handled the country club events, with an open bar and live jazz quartet. Derek spared no expense when he wanted to impress clients. I arrived alone. Clara had gone early to help Monica set up, and immediately spotted the dynamics at play. Monica and Derek held court near the bar, introducing guests to their inner circle. Clara stood beside a tall, handsome man I recognized as Grant Nielsen, both of them playing the role of casual acquaintances, meeting through mutual friends. The performance was elaborate and well-rehearsed. Grant's wife, Julia, was also present, an elegant woman in her mid-40s who seemed genuinely fond of Clara. She complimented Clara's dress, asked about her work, suggested they have lunch sometime soon. Clara accepted Julia's kindness while sleeping with her husband. The cruelty was breathtaking. I spent the first hour observing, nursing a single beer and making small talk with other guests. Several people asked where I'd been lately. Apparently, Clara had been attending social events without me for months, claiming I was too busy with work or too tired to join her. Tom's been under a lot of stress, I heard her tell one of Derek's business partners. He's not much for parties these days. Another lie, another way to erase me from her life while keeping me available as financial support and domestic convenience. At 9 p.m., I made my move. I approached Monica while she was alone, refreshing her drink at the bar. Great party, I said. Derek really knows how to celebrate. Oh, Tom, I didn't see you come in. Clara said you might not make it. Wouldn't miss it. Family's important, don't you think? Something in my tone made her look at me more carefully. Of course. Is everything okay? Perfect. I've been learning so much lately. About family, about loyalty, about what people really think when they assume you're not paying attention. Monica's smile faltered slightly. I'm not sure what you mean. I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot of one of her messages to Clara. Her face went pale. We should talk, I said quietly. Somewhere private. She led me to Derek's home office, closing the door behind us. Her hands were shaking as she turned to face me. Tom, I can explain. No need. Your messages are quite detailed. 4 months of coordination, lies, and mockery. Very thorough documentation. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You introduced your sister to Grant Nielsen. You've been providing alibis for their affair. You and Derek have been hosting them at restaurants and events, laughing about how stupid I am for not noticing. Monica sat down heavily in Derek's leather chair. Tom, please. Clara's unhappy. She has been for years. I was just trying to help her find some joy. By helping her cheat on her husband, by turning me into a joke for your friend group, you don't understand. Clara felt trapped. She married young, before she knew what she really wanted. Grant makes her feel alive again. And what about Grant's wife? Does she deserve to feel alive too? Or is that not part of your concern? Monica had no answer for that. I leaned against Derek's desk, keeping my voice calm and level. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go back to that party and tell Clara the first want to speak with her, privately, and then you're going to think very carefully about whether you want to continue this little game. What do you mean? I showed her another screenshot, this one of her discussing Derek's creative accounting practices with Clara. Your husband has been very creative with his business expenses, using company funds for personal entertainment, claiming client dinners that were actually dates for you and your friends. I'm sure the IRS would find these conversations fascinating. Monica's face went white. You can't be serious. I'm very serious. I've spent my career documenting things, Monica. It's what I do. And you've all been very careless about what you put in writing. I left her in the office and returned to the party. Within minutes, Clara appeared at my side, her smile bright, but her eyes worried. Monica said you wanted to talk? I do. Let's go home. But the party's just getting started. Grant was telling the most interesting story about his development projects. I'm sure he was. But we're leaving. Now. Something in my voice made her stop arguing. She made quick excuses to our hosts and followed me to the car, her heels clicking nervously on the driveway. The drive home was silent. Clara kept glancing at me, trying to read my mood. I kept my expression neutral, my hands steady on the wheel. Once we were inside our house, I led her to the living room and gestured for her to sit down. I remained standing. I know about Grant, I said simply. The color drained from her face. What do you mean? I know about the affair. I know about Monica's involvement. I know about the lies, the hotels, the group chat where you all mock me. I know everything. Clara's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Tom, I have screenshots of your messages, photos of you entering his building, credit card records of purchases you claimed were for work. 4 months of evidence, Clara, documented, time-stamped, and verified. She began to cry, but they were panicked tears, not remorseful ones. It's not what you think. Grant and I, we're just friends. You're misunderstanding. I showed her one of the explicit messages she'd sent, describing in graphic detail what she wanted Grant to do to her. She stopped talking. I'm going to ask you once, I said. Is there anything you want to say to me? Any apology you want to make? Any explanation that might help me understand how the woman I married became someone who could do this? Clara wiped her eyes, smearing her makeup. For a moment, I thought she might actually be honest with me. Instead, she went on the attack. Fine, she said, standing up and crossing her arms. Yes, I'm seeing Grant. Yes, I've been lying to you. But can you really blame me, Tom? Look at yourself. Look at this house, this life. You've given up on everything. Your career, your appearance, your ambition. You're content to be mediocre forever. So you decided to cheat instead of talking to me about it. I tried talking to you for years, but you never listened. You were always too busy with your technical manuals and your documentation and your boring, safe little world. Grant makes me feel like a woman again. He takes me places, buys me things, makes me feel valuable. And his wife? What about her? Clara shrugged. That's not my problem. Julia has her own life, her own money. She'll be fine. The casual cruelty of it took my breath away. This wasn't the woman I'd married. Or maybe it was, and I'd just never seen it before. So what happens now? I asked. Now you decide what kind of man you want to be, Clara said, her confidence returning. You can make a scene, file for divorce, try to take me for whatever pathetic assets we have. Or you can accept that I'm not happy and let me go gracefully. Those are my only options? Those are the realistic options. Grant's talking about leaving Julia. We could have a real future together, Tom. But that means you need to step aside. I nodded slowly, as if considering her proposal. And if I don't, then things get ugly. Monica and Derek have connections in this city. Grant knows people. You're a technical writer, Tom. You're nobody. We could make your life very difficult. There it was, the threat I'd been expecting. Clara wasn't just leaving me. She was trying to intimidate me into making it easy for her. I see, I said. Well, thank you for being honest. Finally, I walked to the front closet and pulled out a suitcase. What are you doing? Packing. You're right, Clara. I need to decide what kind of man I want to be. I carried the suitcase upstairs and began filling it with clothes. Clara followed, her earlier confidence wavering. Where are you going? Away. You want me to step aside? Fine. I'm stepping aside. Tom, wait. We should talk about this rationally. Figure out the finances. The house is in both our names. The mortgage is current. You figure it out. I finished packing and carried the suitcase downstairs. Clara was crying again, but now the tears seemed real. Tom, please, don't leave like this. We can work something out. I paused at the front door. You said paper means nothing, remember? Just words on a page. Well, our marriage certificate is just paper. Our mortgage is just paper. Our wedding vows were just words. I opened the door and stepped into the cool night air. But here's the thing about paper, Clara. When it burns, it takes everything with it. I didn't actually leave town. Instead, I checked into a modest hotel near the airport and spent the weekend planning my next moves. Clara had made a crucial error in her final threat. She'd revealed exactly how her support network operated and where they were vulnerable. Monday morning, I drove to Grant's office building and waited in the parking garage. When he arrived in his Porsche, I was ready. Grant Nielsen. He turned, clearly not recognizing me. Yes, Tom Dunning, Clara's husband. His face went through several expressions: surprise, guilt, then settling on arrogant defiance. I see. What can I do for you, Tom? You can listen. For about 2 minutes, Grant glanced around the parking garage, probably calculating whether he could reach the elevator before I could stop him. He was taller and more athletic, but I had the advantage of preparation. I know about the affair, I said. I know about the hotels, the restaurants, the lies. I have documentation going back 4 months. Look, Tom, I'm sorry you found out this way, but Clara and I don't care about Clara and you. What I care about is the pattern of deception, the network of people who helped orchestrate it, and the threats made against me when I discovered the truth. Grant's expression shifted to something more calculating. What do you want? Money? I want you to understand the situation you're in. See, I spent the weekend researching your business practices. Very interesting financial structure you have. Leveraged developments, investor partnerships, creative expense reporting. His face went pale. What are you talking about? I pulled out a folder and showed him copies of public records I'd obtained. Your Riverside project, for instance. You claimed construction delays due to weather, but the meteorological records show it was one of the driest springs on record. Your investors might wonder where their money actually went. You're fishing. You don't know anything. I know you've been using company funds to pay for hotel rooms and restaurant bills that you've been claiming as client entertainment. I know you've been inflating material costs and pocketing the difference. I know your wife, Julia, has been asking questions about discrepancies in your business accounts. Grant's confidence evaporated. How could you possibly know that? Because Monica talks too much when she's drunk, and Clara shares everything with Monica. Your girlfriend has been documenting your crimes for months without realizing it. I showed him screenshots of Clara's messages to Monica, describing Grant's clever business strategies and his complaints about Julia's interference in company finances. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to end your relationship with my wife, today. You're going to tell her it was a mistake, that you're committed to your marriage, whatever story you want to use, but it ends now. And if I don't, then I send this information to Julia, to your business partners, and to the state attorney general's office. Your choice. Grant stared at the documents, his jaw working silently. Finally, he looked up at me with pure hatred. You think you've won something here? Clara doesn't love you, Tom. She never did. Even if I walk away, she'll find someone else. You can't force someone to want you. You're right, I said. But I can make sure she understands the consequences of her choices. I left Grant in the parking garage and drove to Monica and Derek's house. Monica answered the door in her yoga clothes, clearly not expecting visitors. Tom, what are you doing here? Clara's been trying to reach you all weekend. I'm sure she has. We need to talk, Monica. You and Derek and me. Derek's at work. Then call him. Tell him it's urgent. Family business. Something in my tone made her step aside and let me enter. I sat in their expensive living room while she made the call. looking around at the material wealth that had always made Clara feel inadequate about our modest lifestyle. Derek arrived within 20 minutes, his expression wary. Tom, Monica said you wanted to discuss something. I want to discuss your role in my wife's affair and the financial irregularities in your business that you've been discussing with her. Both of them went very still. I spread out copies of their messages, bank records, and business filings across their glass coffee table. You've been using your real estate company to launder money through fake renovation projects. You've been claiming personal expenses as business deductions, and you've been using my wife as a confidant for your illegal activities. Derek's face was red with anger, but Monica looked terrified. You're bluffing, Derek said. You don't have any real evidence. I have 4 months of detailed conversations between your wife and mine. Monica has been documenting your crimes, Derek. Every fake receipt, every inflated invoice, every cash payment you've hidden from the IRS. I showed them the messages where Monica had complained to Clara about Derek's creative accounting and his demands that she not ask questions about certain transactions. The IRS takes anonymous tips very seriously, I continued, especially when they come with this level of documentation. Monica started crying. Tom, please, we never meant for it to go this far. Clara was so unhappy. Stop, Derek said sharply. Don't say another word. But Monica couldn't stop. The guilt and fear poured out of her. We just wanted to help her feel better about herself. Grant seemed like such a nice man, and Clara lit up around him. We thought maybe if she had some excitement in her life, she'd be happier overall, even if it meant destroying my marriage. We thought maybe you wouldn't mind. You seemed so distant lately, so focused on work. Clara said you barely talk to each other anymore. Derek was staring at his wife with horror, realizing she was confessing to everything. Here's what's going to happen, I said, gathering up my papers. You're going to call Clara and tell her the fun is over. No more group dinners, no more alibis, no more encouragement. You're going to explain that continuing this affair would be a mistake for everyone involved. And if we don't, Derek asked, then I make some phone calls. The IRS, the state licensing board, maybe a few of your business partners who might be interested to know how you've been handling their investments. I stood up to leave, then paused at the door. Oh, and Derek, that boat you bought last summer, the one you claimed was for client entertainment, I have photos of you and Monica using it for personal vacations. The IRS might find that interesting too. My next stop was Clara's office. I waited in the parking lot until her lunch break, then approached her as she walked to her car. Tom, thank God, I've been so worried. Where have you been staying? She looked genuinely distressed, her makeup unable to hide the dark circles under her eyes. For a moment, I felt a flicker of the old affection. Then I remembered her threats, her casual cruelty about Grant's wife, her years of deception. We need to talk, I said. Yes, absolutely. Should we go somewhere private? This is private enough. I've spoken to Grant, to Monica and Derek. The affair is over, Clara. Her face went through a series of expressions. Relief, confusion, then anger. What do you mean? You spoke to them. What did you do? I explained the situation. The legal vulnerabilities they've all created. The evidence I've gathered. The consequences they face if this continues. You threatened them. I informed them. There's a difference. Clara's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of rage. You bastard. You couldn't just let me be happy. You had to destroy everything. I didn't destroy anything, Clara. I just documented what was already there. Grant loves me. We have plans. Grant loves his lifestyle, and his lifestyle depends on his wife's money and his business partnerships, both of which disappear if his financial crimes become public. Clara stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. You're not the man I married. No, I agreed. The man you married trusted you. He believed in you. He thought marriage meant something. That man was an idiot. I handed her a manila envelope. Divorce papers. I'm filing for irreconcilable differences. The house goes on the market immediately. We split the proceeds and go our separate ways. Tom, wait. We don't have to do this. We could try counseling. It's too late for that. You made your choice when you decided to humiliate me instead of talking to me. When you threatened me instead of apologizing. When you showed me exactly who you really are. Clara opened the envelope with shaking hands, scanning the legal documents. This is very generous. You're not asking for alimony or, I don't want your money, Clara. I just want you out of my life. She looked up at me, and for the first time in months, I saw something like respect in her eyes. I underestimated you. Yes, you did. You all did. What happens now? Now you figure out how to rebuild your life without Grant, without Monica's support network, without the safety net of a marriage you never valued. You wanted to know what kind of man I really am? I'm the kind who documents everything, who plans carefully, and who doesn't make threats he can't back up. I turned to walk away, then stopped. Oh, and Clara? Paper does mean something. It means evidence. It means consequences. It means the difference between getting away with something and paying the price for it. Tom, we're done talking. Have your lawyer contact mine. I walked back to my car, leaving Clara standing alone in the parking lot, holding the divorce papers that would end our marriage and her dreams of a different life. 3 weeks later, I received a call from my lawyer. Clara had signed the papers without contest. Grant had filed for divorce from Julia, but she'd frozen all their assets and was pursuing criminal charges for his business fraud. Monica and Derek were under IRS investigation and facing potential federal charges. The house sold quickly in a hot real estate market. I used my share of the proceeds to put a down payment on a small condo across town, far from the social circles that had entertained themselves with my humiliation. I never saw Clara again, but I heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd moved back in with her parents and was working as a receptionist at a medical clinic. Grant was facing bankruptcy and potential prison time. Monica and Derek had plea bargained their way into house arrest and massive financial penalties. They'd all learned the same lesson I'd tried to teach them. Paper means everything. Documentation matters. Evidence has consequences. And sometimes, the quiet man in the corner is the most dangerous one in the room.